Hi there, and welcome to Akron Buzz. I'm your host, Julie Holliday. I'm sitting here in studio with the cartoonist and creator of Funky Winkerbean and the co-creator of Crankshaft, Tom Batiuk. Tom, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yes. Now, Tom, tell us a little bit about what it is that you do.
I'm a cartoonist, and I've been very fortunate. When I graduated from Kent State, I taught school for about 2.5 years. Been doing cartoons ever since, and syndicated cartoons in the newspaper, and it's just the best job in the world.
Now, you started off with Crankshaft, or you
started off with Funky Winkerbean. Actually,
right.
In fact, I actually started off with, I was teaching at Eastern Heights Junior High in Elyria, and I went into the Elyria Chronicle-Telegram, took my sketchbook in, and I was just trying to get a job doing some spot art, something like that, and the editor looked at my stuff, and in the book he saw drawings of kids, because I was teaching, and I put little funny captions over some of them and stuff, and he liked it, and he said, we have a thing called the Tuesday Teen Page, and we're looking for a cartoon for it. Do you want to do it? So I left with my own weekly cartoon, which was fantastic.
And you did that for a while alongside teaching full-time?
Absolutely, yeah. I would, it was, like I say, Tuesday Teen Page. I'd get out of school on Tuesday, I'd drive around to the Rexall, all those different stores and pick up papers. So I'd come back with about 50, 60 papers. I just wanted to make sure it was actually in every issue, you know,
right.
Just checking it out. But it was also, I thought you know, if I pick up that many papers, a little sales bump will justify his faith in me and putting me in. And I did that, like I say, for about 1.5 years, and I eventually then started taking it to the newspaper syndicates. I started getting a great response to it, so I took it to the newspaper syndicates to see if I could go national with it.
And you obviously have.
I did. I was very lucky. I took it to New York City. And it's like one of those bad B-movie stories. I visited every single syndicate, and it ranged from people sitting down and talking with me and giving me good advice to one syndicate, they just walked out in the hall and talked to me for a minute. The last syndicate I got to, no one would even talk to me, so I left some photostats with the receptionist, and I left. And the story I've heard since then was that the managing editor came out, saw the pictures, ran out in the hallway, and saw the elevator doors closing behind me. Isn't that a great story?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not true. Because I was walking backwards down the hall the whole way just in case somebody would come running out. But when I got home, there was an option contract there, and it led to a contract with Publishers Hall to produce Funky Winkerbean.
Wow.
Yeah.
And since it's turned into how many books?
Well, Funky Winkerbean's about over 400 newspapers, and there have been a lot of books out. Recently, the Kent State University Press has been bringing my books out under the Black Squirrel imprint. That's for plausible deniability for the press, but they've been bringing out the complete Funky Winkerbean, and Volume 4 just came out of that.
And then I was reading as well that you like to base all of the characters in Funky on people that you had, your students or people that you went to school with.
Well, right. The panel that I did didn't have any set characters. And the first syndicate I talked to wanted some characters. They wanted to turn it into a strip. And I didn't, so I just immediately took the easiest route and grabbed my friends and people I taught with, just changed the names to avoid prosecution.
Yeah.
and that became my work method. I just became very used to taking things from real life and just kind of plopping them right into the strip. It's a great strip for that because it's only about a 1/4 inch removed from real life. So. It was a great work process for me.
And you experienced some controversy behind that. Can you tell me more about that?
Well, yeah, back in 1986, I did a storyline about a girl in high school who became pregnant.
Yeah.
And it was both sides of the coin. It was a great response to it. We even had so many requests for copies of that series that we printed up. This is before email and stuff. We printed up pamphlets and mailed out 60,000 copies. So it went over very, very well, but it also started me down the path of taking on more substantive issues in the strip.
Right.
And a lot of people really don't like their comics messed with. I mean, a lot of people really firmly believe that comics are only supposed to be funny. And so you know, you run into a conflict with them. So it's become a schism ever since. But my fans in the main have been very generous. They've given me their trust, and they've let me grow up doing the strip.
What gave you the courage to stay true to that for yourself? You know, whenever everyone was telling you, you know, it should be funny, what made you stick with your
I don't know. It was just, I guess part of it was the strips that I admired when I was growing up. I remember reading in the Akron Beacon Journal, I'd see strips like Gasoline Alley. And even though I hadn't been there for the beginning of Gasoline Alley, I could see that the characters were growing older. And Frank King, their artist on that strip, did a beautiful job of sort of aging people on a daily basis. You know, every day was like another breath. It was beautiful.
Right.
I didn't have that knack, but I admired what he did. And I always, in the back of my mind, knew that I wanted my characters to move forward and grow up. Otherwise, they're permanently stuck in a time loop. You know,
Right.
they go 3 panels and loop right back to the beginning every day.
And then you had a book of, I shouldn't say a book always, but a collection of comics based on one of your characters, correct?
Yes, there have been a couple. When Lisa died in the strip from cancer, it was collected into a book, again by the Kent State University Press, for Lisa's story. And again, like I say, just brought out volume 4 of The Complete Funky, and they also brought out a volume of strips from Crankshaft that dealt with Crankshaft's next door neighbor who had Alzheimer's disease. So those have all been collected into one book. I sort of do humor strips with tragic relief.
I really enjoy it. I like that you do that. Can you tell me more about Crankshaft?
Crankshaft started out as a, well actually, I was on a book tour and I was in a television station in Atlanta. I was leaving the station and the receptionist said there's a call. And this very nice lady said, I'm a big fan of the strip, like Funky a lot. Needs 2 things. It needs a school secretary and it needs a school bus driver.
Oh, there you
so
go.
I kept that in mind, and I was sitting in Seattle in SeaTac Airport, had some time waiting for a plane. So I started writing about the school secretary. I thought, this is going to be a great character.
Yeah.
And I came up with that, and when I left, I had 2 weeks for that before I got on my plane, and I had written down the name for the bus driver, Crankshaft. The school secretary was sort of okay, but when I started putting Crankshaft in the paper, I just started getting a huge response to him. And I just totally based him on the bus driver that I had when I was going to school. Except, normally what you do is you take people's personalities and you expand them to create the comic character. With my school bus driver, I actually had to tone him down a little bit, you know, just to make him believable for the comic strip. But that's how Crankshaft got started.
I know my grandpa was a huge fan of Crankshaft, and my family would always call him that because he looked like him. He was always, you know, super grumpy and just, you know, so many things about him. So
well, it was one of those lucky things because I mean I was writing about my personal traumas. You know,
Right.
I mean I was the kid running down to the bus with my lunchbox and my books and my trombone case and a paper mache volcano on a plywood board, you know, all that stuff. And this bus driver I had, he was really, he was an odd guy. He used to play bowling with elementary kids. You know, the little kid would get on the bus and he'd take off really fast and the kid would start tumbling down the aisle, you know, and you got points for how far he went and stuff, things like that. He would, you know, he was, like mothers would come running down the driveway with a lunchbox that the kid forgot.
Yeah.
And he was a pro. He knew not to pull away too fast because if you pull away too fast, they'll just give up. He could keep mothers running after the bus for several miles, you know. So I just folded him into the strip, and he became a great character. And because of the response I got to him, I spun him off into his own strip.
Right, and that was a co-creation.
Yeah, I am really slow. I cannot. Art is very painful for me. I can get it done, but it takes forever. The writing is very easy, but I needed some help on Crankshaft, and I went back to a student I knew at Kent State, Chuck Ayers. He's a brilliant artist, great cartoonist, and he really just took Crankshaft over and brought him to life.
That's incredible.
Yeah, he's great.
What's it like to work side by side with someone?
I don't. I never do. You know, I grew up reading Marvel comics, and Stan Lee would always talk about the Marvel bullpen. And I kept thinking, boy, that's got to be so much fun, you know, just to work with these guys side by side. I've never done it. I've done 3 strips. Funky John Darling was another strip in Crankshaft. And every time, I just do everything at home, send the stuff to another guy. Like Chuck and I, we do meet at Luigi's here in Akron every 2 weeks. But other than that, I never see him, but it works out, you know, beautifully. I just don't have that back and forth experience on a daily basis.
Right, yeah. And it seems like, you know, you were saying before as well, a little bit off camera, that you kind of have to make your own, it's hard to find experience, or it's hard to find opportunities as far as, you know, cartooning goes and stuff like that in art, but you sort of made your own way with that.
I was very lucky. You know, it's, I mean, you have to make the try, and if you do that, then you put yourself in a position to be lucky, and so then I was, and I was very fortunate to get started. I was very young, so it was kind of on the job training.
Right,
you know?
right.
Sort of learning how to do it on the comic page every day in front of millions of readers, but you know, it's what I always wanted to do. So it worked out.
Do you have any advice for someone, for people watching, as far as like how to continue to follow your true passion, even if you're working a full-time job or?
Oh, I'd say, I mean, you only get one go around, and so you might as well try to do what you want to do if you can. Personally, I think it's best to have no plan B. I did have a plan B as a teacher, but I think if you don't have a backup plan, it just makes it, you just move forward. You don't look around and see where you can land elsewhere. You just keep focused. Mm-hmm. Some people, and I was very lucky, before I started Funky, and before I had done the cartoon for the Lyric Chronicle, I went to visit my old art teacher because I was thinking of maybe getting a job in an art agency or something, and just
right.
Trying to do something with my art skills. But he said, there's two types of people. There's people that get into organizations and they find their level,
right?
And there's bulldogs that just go for one thing only. And so I decided, okay, we'll do the bulldog route and just try that. So you need to be a little bit of a bulldog.
It's worked so well for you, and it's such an inspiration.
Yeah, and you need to be lucky, but it's nice even if you don't make it. I mean, the zest in life doesn't come from success. It comes from the rattle of the dice,
Huh.
And so that's the exciting part.
I love that. Now, I really admire as well that you sort of go towards the not necessarily funny all the time. You go for the real and go for the stuff that some people see as sad or whatever. Me personally, I do stand-up comedy. I'm a comic, and a lot of times I don't want to talk about the things that are funny all the time. I love to be more real and more, even if it is sad,
Sure.
So, just coming from, I know it's a different kind of comic, but how would
Sure.
how any advice for a comic in stand-up or an improv?
You've just got to be. You've got to be true to yourself. I mean, I think every person doing that is writing for themselves. I mean, you're the audience you want to please, so you're trying to meet your standards. And you don't want to try to do things just to appeal to an audience, because it's going to show.
Right.
And I think
right.
if you're as honest as you can be about what you do, I think people perceive that, and then they'll receive it and enjoy it.
Do you think people would be okay going to a comedy club and not laughing?
Not into comedy. It's entirely possible. I saw a beautiful routine. There's this comic, Tig Notaro, and she was talking about her getting cancer. Not the easiest thing in the world to do, and
right.
it was hilarious.
Right.
So.
Good to know. Now, can you tell me what you're working on now? What's new for you?
Coming up, one thing that just happened that was very cool, we had a book out last year of all the baseball stories from Crankshaft. And Chuck and I just won the Independent Publishers Award, so I'll be going to New York City in a couple weeks to pick that up, which is very cool.
Great. Yeah.
I'm working ahead on Funky right now. I'm about a year ahead, so I'm working on stuff for the end of 2016 right now.
Wonderful.
So.
And then I have these with us. What can you explain to me what these are?
Well, again, this is Volume 4 of the Complete Funky. We collecting 3 years at a clip. For the people that email me and say, I love your strip, especially the early funny ones.
Right.
Ta-da. Father's Day is coming.
And do you have a website and everything?
Yes, they can go to funkywinkerbean.com and the books can be found right there.
Perfect. Okay. And then this one as well.
Roses in December it's coming out in about a week, and it collects all the Alzheimer's stories from Crankshaft.
That's wonderful.
Chuck did a brilliant job. He did the cover. It's worth reading just for the artwork alone, but it's a good book, if I say so myself.
And it's about Alzheimer's. Once again, you touching on things that are
right.
pretty sensitive.
Yeah. You just have to sort of look for the humor in the situations. When I started out, it was like doing stand-up. It was like gag a day.
Right.
And then I kind of went into sitcom. I started doing things that would last about a week, build up. And now I think I'm doing movies, and movies allow you to do more behavioral humor. You don't have to go for a punchline, but you can just let the humor kind of come out of the conversations and the characters themselves.
Thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure.
It's been really amazing. You're incredibly inspiring.
Well, thanks,
Appreciate
Julie.
it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom. And thank you guys for watching so much. Please check out Tom and all of his cartoon books and all of his stuff in the newspapers as well. This has been Akron Buzz. Thank you for watching.